test, mic test, mic test. Mic test, mic test, mic test, mic test, mic test, mic test. Mic, 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 mic.
Yeah. See the clock down there? A couple more minutes and then it's the Harold Richardson Show. We're going to start the music. Now, I use a different one.
Well, that's your choice.
That's automatic.
Automatic.
you fire the computer up and it comes up in the background. I might like this one better. The other one is too. I don't know. You know if it's.
This is the only one that costs.
Oh, that's for K3 though.
Yeah. It'll do Yaesu and K3. They'll grab Yaesu.
Yeah.
That's free, that's free.
I ran this some today. On I guess it's time to finish conversations or make some notes and talk after the meeting. I'd like to welcome everybody out. It's 7:30 and my name is David Schoaf. Even though I don't have my name tag on, I still remember who I was, so we're already ahead of the game tonight. I know we have some new hams. Let's see where our new hams are. Right back here, two guys. Welcome. Now, are you a new ham or an upgrade? New ham. And you got your annual membership on the house, and we have field day coming up. Daryl's going to talk about field day here in just a few minutes, so got a few things to talk about before we get there. So I've introduced myself as David Schoaf. I'm KC4X. You might hear me on, you might not, but I'll be around. This is Harold Richardson, who has our program tonight. Harold, what's your call? By the way, Kent has been out a while, and we're happy to have Kent back with us. Kent had a little run-in with a piece of concrete on Business 40 very early in the morning one morning, and I guess you still don't know who dropped it. Oh, well. Give us a call, Kent. Go ahead to... Okay, good. And Bruce.
Tony KW4OQ.
And dot WB4QIZ/E.
Harlan HRC. Ron KM4RRKP.
Ron WB4UB.
Yes.
Excellent. Mike? Right. And last but not least? Okay, very good, very good. I'm sorry, you got behind there, I didn't see you. I'm supposed to be, no, I'm not going to be in the light here. We're broadcasting again tonight, and I think we've gotten the URL and all the other issues pretty well squared away. We hope so, recording it, broadcasting it. So if you guys have any need to reference what's said tonight, we hope to have it on the website in the next few days. It's my great pleasure to once again turn to Kent and get a treasurer's report after how many months? Too many months.
Right now, our current balance is 62,993. Yeah, quite a bit of money. Really no major expenses coming up, well, a couple of things. Distance, we have about $700 insurance payments to First of July. Half of that we pay, half of that we pay. The other part will, this guy's got a deal here. Post office space, so that will come in, $300 there. We'll have bill day expenses that's going to be coming up here within the next month. There'll be a few expenses or benefits. That'll be coming up. But again, in contrast to that, we'll have the income coming from the handheld. So we'll actually end up, I don't think that's done here in a couple of months, that given no more money, or nothing major pops up unexpectedly, we'll probably end up with a higher balance. One thing that I didn't mention is that because of our tax status, that we don't want to carry a whole lot of cash in the bank. You know, we discussed in the past that $5,000 around there. The IRS starts looking at our taxes instead and start collecting a whole lot of cash. So that may be something Mark might want to think about when if there's purchases need to be made or something like that.
We've been pretty tight as this because when it comes to we have a couple of Hamfests a year and the dues, and that's about it. And so we don't have a ton of income. No, that's yours. Henry make it? Not Henry. Don make it? Oh, good. Okay, good deal. Also, I wanted to mention, they've already mentioned the Hamfest. That's coming up before our next club meeting. That's not me. And so, if you don't know where the Hamfest is going to happen, the map is on our website, w4nc.com, and it's in a nice big church out on Robin Hood Road. Really great facility. Think it's going to be a good Hamfest, a lot of fun, a lot of folks there. So try to make that. Additionally, next Monday night, at about this same time, we'll be having our business meeting at 66 Pizza. If you know where that new giant, I guess it's giant, sports store is going up just off Stratford Road. What's the name of it? Academy Sports. 66 Pizza is right there next to it. And it's Academy Sports. If you go down Stratford Road in either direction, it's between Haynes Mall Boulevard and what is that new... there's a bank that built right out on the corner. You're headed west toward Clemens. Piedmont Credit Union, that's where it is. Yep. So we meet there at about 6:30 more or less, and we eat, and then we have a meeting at 7:30. Usually lasts about an hour, and we get a lot done. A lot of the time afterwards is spent talking about antennas and radios and problems and the kind of things that hams talk about all the time. So everybody's welcome. We always get a couple of new ones here and there. Usually about 20 or so people show up for the meeting. So glad to have you. And the food is good and the prices are not crazy. So it's a good place to go. I'd like to turn the meeting over for a few minutes to Harlan, who's going to talk about our Aries group and issues surrounding Aries. No issues.
Wednesday night, for those who don't have Skyward training, Skyward is being offered both basic and advanced course. It is at the North Carolina Extension Institute over off Fairchild Drive, the airport. Wednesday night, 6 o'clock. 6 to 9 courses would be Skyward certified. Other thing we have is the antennas have been installed in the DOC. They're up. I'll be getting with their compound down there, their test testing, hopefully this week. If we can bring both our schedules. Another thing I'll mention, they just completed a course last week. It was down in Charlotte for pretty much the full week. One of the courses quick down there was called OXCOM. And it's a DHS course, our security course.
designed for amateurs to allow us to interface directly with law enforcement, fire, EMS, dispatchers in the field, essentially a forward command post, helping them do their operation, and even if necessary, being able to relieve them and provide that communication support there. X-Force, nice thing about it is it's free. The state of North Carolina does pick up the hotel tablets for those who go. It is a limited course. I think we take 18 to 20 people. Each time they run it once a year. Trying to run it twice a year. But it is a man course. And anybody that completes it, if your name goes one, your name goes in the DHS list, and you become employable with DHS anywhere they send an emergency contact. And they look towards amateur radio. Give you a couple of real scenarios of where this is, how we did it. During the exercise, we were walking out, and I worked with people from Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia. Those people that were signed on my team. There was two of us were amateurs out of town. Me, the guy out of Charlotte. And walking out, the communications team leader asked me to be a safety officer for the team. Based upon my knowledge of communications and of radios and what we should look for to stay safe. The very first thing we walked into our scenario, the evaluators introduced 5 safety issues in our communications trail around it that had to be resolved before we start our operations. So it became very critical for us to do it. By me as an amateur taking safety role away from one of his folks, that meant he had instead of one dispatcher, he had 2 dispatchers on his team's radios. Instead of one technician, to repair some of the things that they needed. So we played a very critical role in relieving these people and allowing them to function. Also, we were able to, during one of the evaluations was they lost all their communications. They were not able to communicate at all. And amateur radio had to pick it up. We had about 10 minutes on how we were going to do that. And we were able to walk through how we would set up instantly, relatively instantly. Communications, including digital communications, back between when we were forward command post, their command center, their dispatch center, and state we actually made them contact state DOC to show them do it. Excellent course, I encourage you to do it. I've actually been asked to go back next year and take communications leader, what they call L course, which would be the leader of that team, deployable anywhere. So it's an excellent course, I encourage you to do it. If you can, help you understand how we are Space County and what we do. You do have to have 4 ICS courses. It's a great course. You know. That's pretty much it. I know Jim ran a test last week. Oh, the other thing, how many people in here are first state qualified? How many want to be? Okay. I'm looking with the city to get us a course. They're expensive across $100 a person to take their first aid course. The city of Winston Fire Department has a course that's about half a day, and it's essentially what do you do until help, how to keep a person stabilized, you got broken bones, different things like that. A little bit of what they call hands-on CPR. So it's a pretty course. Working with them, trying to set it up. We can Saturday to do it, and have their instructors come out and do it here. Okay. City wants to tell us course together. And so we'll set that up sometime here, probably in the summer, prior to tags, so our folks tag would qualify. Okay. They don't Tanglewood. We'll have next week. Confirmed date. They're still back and forth the weekends. But I will have next week. I will not be at the city's meeting. I'll be in Burnsville like MS. Actually, our initial meeting. I'm most quick with regards to Tanglewood. I'm meeting with Doc's last name, first name is Terry. Anyway, he is in charge of Wake Forest Hospital's medical team. If you don't know, they have a huge medical team. They have the ability to put a hospital in the field. And operating everything. They got stretcher trailers, tents, etc. We're discussing them for their communications command place. The Tanglewood us to use. It's fairly impressive. If we do that, we'll operate out of that. So I'm meeting them next morning.
No more camper?
Air conditioning.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay, thank you, Harlan. For those of you that may not know, we participate with the Tour de Tanglewood and support services for them, and that takes some coordination. There'll be more on that later, I'm sure. Steve, would you tell us briefly about tomorrow night's tech group meeting?
There's a group meets third Tuesdays of the month, which comes right after Monday this month. But we're doing a little project, had contributions from lots of folks, and we're getting together a little packet. What we're trying to do is build the low dollar equivalent to the signal link you'll be hearing about later.
Very good. And Daryl, would you give us a little field day now? Daryl is our field day coordinator. Next month, our entire program will be on field day. We'll be talking about it, so I asked Daryl to give us a little heads up tonight.
As David mentioned, field days on the rise, fourth weekend in June, that'll be June 23rd, 24th. We'll be out at Poppy once again. We'll probably the same usual Friday, trying to get out there, some of so put the weekend stuff, and then get back out there about 9 a.m. on Saturday to get everything up, connected, so ready to start some mission. And we'll be running continuous at 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon. For those folks that are new to the club since last June, certainly hope to come out, participate. We want you to come out. It's a great opportunity to make a lot of contacts. You're kind of working in a contest atmosphere, but if you'd like to operate, we will pair you with someone, and in 5 or 10 minutes you'll feel like you've been doing your life. So there's no reason to feel intimidated. I know everybody is first time, but don't let that bother you. Come out and enjoy yourself. It's probably social also. We're going to have a hot dog cookout this year, and I believe there's a rumor homemade and so we always have a good time, and we'll go further. Next month I'll pass around a list for people to sign, like to operate, and we'll go into greater detail next month. But put it down on your calendar.
Okay, thank you, Daryl. I thought Dale's not back from upstairs yet, so we're going to hold off on the repeater report and maybe catch up after Harold finishes. I will tell you that the 5.7 repeater is down, and the 4.7 repeater, what I'm thinking about too is a 444 275 repeater at the hospital. It's got a problem too, so we have some things we're working on. And just bear with us. The Vagabond group, I don't know if you guys get in on that on the afternoons, about 2:30 in the afternoon to about 4:30. They've been using Jerry Miner's repeater up on Sartown Mountain, and we do thank Jerry for that, because it's, that's right. It's, give me the numbers. It's 315, I know, 147-315, and it works very well. You know, 100 hertz tone and we've been using that for our operations, and the vagabond's been using it as well. So Dale may comment on that, but then again, maybe he won't make it down. Anyway, it's time, Harold. Are you ready?
No.
Ready or not?
Well, you better get ready, Harold.
That's right.
Deploy is different. That's true.
That's what we're going to get to eventually. First of all, you've got to put up with the PowerPoint presentation that I prepared. Let's see if I can do this. And maybe it'll work. Anyway, what we're going to cover tonight is basically just getting your radio and PC connected together, and one piece of software, or a couple pieces of software, mainly the WSJTX software, which is the one that controls, does the FT8 protocol. That's what is the hot little protocol right now. The PC that I use runs Windows 10. So a lot of these slides are all based on a Windows 10 PC. Let's see if this will work. Yep. Okay, first of all, we want to get our PC ready. One of the most important things about running the digital protocol is keeping your clock, PC clock, accurate. And to do that, what you need to do is download some kind of synchronization program to check, to keep your clock synchronized. I use one called NetTime. It's a network time synchronization tool, and it can be found at that web address. I did prepare about 20 sheets of paper for any of you that want to get hooked up. I just put on it the software that I use and website that you can get it from. Most of the software is free. There is a few pieces that are you've got to pay for. The FT8 protocol or the Whisper protocol, those are more for contact accumulation. If you want to do kind of conversational digital, you need something like Ham Radio Deluxe, which gives you protocols that you can actually sit there and type messages in and kind of carry on a typewritten conversation. Anyway, I use the NetTime, and I did this one little slide in that when you get ready to install it, it's just a normal Windows install, but this one little menu where it says Install as a Service, which is recommended, that way it runs like a background program, and it comes up every time you start your PC up. And then you go in and get to the configuration screen, and I set mine to, let me get my little pointer, see if this will work. That's an interval every 15 minutes. It will upgrade, it will talk to the National Bureau of Standards, get the time, and bring your clock up to that time setting. When I go in and check it, between, as I periodically check it, I'm off by 20 to 100 milliseconds. which is not much. But if you get off as much as 2 seconds in here, it can be problematic when you're doing the digital protocol. The first thing we want to do is connect our radio to the PC. Depending on the age of your radio, most of the modern radios have what they call a CAT cable or a CAT connection. It's a control connection so that you can run a piece of software on your PC and control the rig. Mine uses a USB cable to do it. I've had other ones that used a serial cable. If you get a newer PC that doesn't have any kind of serial ports on it, you'll need to get a serial to USB dongle. That'll give you the control. It's just simply you plug it into PC, plug it into radio. Usually it's a port on the back of it marked for that purpose. And then you install your software. Select a software control program or program that will control the PC. Some of the vendors write their own programs. You can use something like Ham Radio Deluxe. These were just a few of the ones that I pulled off of the internet. I did a search using radio control software or CAT control software. Got 2 long lists of different pieces of software. Most of them are free. The one up top, Ham Radio Deluxe, they don't charge you for the software, but they charge you for a mandatory 1-year support, $100.
The free version is still available.
Yeah, you can find it out there. It had the package that you get now, the latest version, has features that weren't in the older version, and some of them are worth having. The TRX Manager, that was just one I pulled out of the list. Have no idea other than it looked like a pretty good piece of software. N1MM Logger, Jim, you use that, don't you?
Oh yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and that's a freeware. The one down there, Windows for K3 Suite, is what I use. That one, they're not quite as proud as Ham Radio Deluxe. There, it's only $50. But it's a piece of software that controls the PC. You go through a normal Windows install, you click on it, say install, and it comes up and asks you a bunch of questions. In the Ham Radio Deluxe, what you need to do is tell it what kind of radio you got. In my case, it's an Elcraft K3, and that's the one that's on the bench at home. That's where I made most of these slides. Tell it what COM port you talk through and the baud rate. Now, one of the things that you kind of need to do to get the baud rate is to go into your manual for your radio and find out what the default baud rate is so that they match. And then you click OK, it'll install, it'll come up, and that's Ham Radio Deluxe. That's the control page. You can see it's got all kinds of options on it, band selection, filters, what have you. But that's the control page. Now, in Ham Radio Deluxe, there's a digital master and a logbook program. So if you're using Ham Radio Deluxe, those will be the ones you use. This can run as a freestanding program, or you can not install this and just use the digital master and the logbook with some other control program. That will work. The Win for K3, again, it asks you about the same questions. What kind of radio do you have? What the COM port and the baud rate? There's other options in there, but that's just specific to what I'm doing. And you install it and see that kind of same features. Allows me to select bands, set filters, set enhancement to the audio, and generally keep track of the radio. Now, one of the reasons that I use this is it has a little feature in it where I have 4 virtual serial ports, which I can link a lot of other software into and still control my radio without any interference between the pieces of software. What we're going to talk about next is connecting the sound card. You've got the CAT connection, which gives you the control over the radio as far as changing frequencies, changing bands, turning things on and off. That's done through the CAT program. To run the digital software, we need to get our sound in, sound out, because what we're doing is we're putting sound on our sideband. And so we've got the choice of using the PC sound card. Most of the PCs come with a built-in sound card. You can use that to run your radio. One little thing, if you do that, make sure you turned off all Windows access to the sound card. You'll be sitting there in the middle of a conversation on the other side of the world, and Windows will decide to inject a sound, and there goes your contact. External sound card. The little program that we're working on in the project club, that's an external sound card. You can get external sound cards with push to control, or with external push to control, which means the PC will send a signal to the radio to tell it to key. You can get an external sound card with internal push to talk, something like this little jewel. This is a signal link, which is what I use in my rig. It's about, this is about $90. One of the better ones on the market, Rig Blaster, I think, MFJ makes their copy of this, I think. One of the guys asked me about that. Or you could have a radio that has a built-in sound card. My K3 has a built-in sound card. The later models, they have a sound card in it, so I plug in a USB cable and that's my connection. We've got 3 scenarios. If you're using the PC sound card, you take the sound out to the radio in, the radio out to PC in, that's your audio connection, and then you need some kind of control signal to tell a radio to go into transmit mode when you're ready to send. Now you can, if your radio has Vox, you can do away with this and tell a radio when you hear something come in on the in port, key. That's about the simplest way to do it. But that's the connections. Remember, you got your signal cable, which is controlling the CAT connection, and then you've got 2 audio cables and possibly a push-to-talk cable. The next one is external sound card with an external push-to-talk. See, we still got the same connection. We use a USB to get to the external sound card, and the audio connection is there. Now, on your radio, this could be a line in, line out. Or, in the case of this little rig here, this is microphone and earphone. That's the connections, the way I get the sound over to it. And then the last one is simply or the one with the built-in push-to-talk in the sound card. That's like my signal link. It sends a signal over to key to radio. But that's what you have there. And then if you use external sound card in a radio, a USB cable. And you pass, one of the options in the software is to tell it to key the radio through the CAT cable. This is the CAT cable and the sound card all in one. in my case of the K3. Any questions up to this point? I know you've, oh, and the other thing is if you've got an older radio that doesn't have a CAT connection, but you can still get sound in and some way to key it, it'll still work. We just put, it's just like putting a speaker in front of the microphone. You know, you could see the PC would generate the sounds, the microphone would put it into the radio. But in the case you can bring it out of the PC into the mic connection, out of the earphone connection into the PC. You may have to have some buffering in there, a matching transformer or something like that, but there's all kinds of ways to do it. Basically, that's it. CAT control, sound connection, push-to-talk control, and you'll be on the air. Select and install your digital software. Depending on what you want to do, how much money you want to put into it, search the internet. There are all kinds of digital programs out there. The Ham Radio Deluxe has a digital master software. That's what does PSK31, PSK63, teletype, RIDI signal, a couple others. There's a whole bunch of different things in there. It does not do the FT8. The JT65 FT8, it doesn't do that. That is the weak signal WSJTX, and that, by the way, it stands for weak. Did I spell that wrong? Yes, I did. You know, it's late at night, but weak signal, and the guy that wrote all of this, his name is Joe Taylor. So it's weak signal Joe Taylor software. And the X is the latest version. It has the FT8, JT9, JT65, the Whisper software. That's real great for checking out antennas or just seeing who you can hear or where you're heard. All of this second package sends information into a PSK reporter, and you can go online and do little inquiries on it and ask where you're being heard, who's heard you. And it will give you a nice map of the world and show you all the places that received your signal. Digital master. I put this in here because a couple people said they wanted to do more conversational. This is the opening screen for the DM780. The things that you need to configure to get on the air, you go to the Program Options button, select that, and then it presents you with a menu. And these are the ones that you need to configure. Call info, which is your information. Just go down that little menu, fill it out. When you click to the next menu, it will automatically save this. So you don't have to hit save button. You need push to talk. Tell it how you're going to signal the radio to transmit. In this case, I selected via Vox or the external sound card. So I don't have to worry about a line. When I send information to it, it will key automatically. Sound card. Drop down menu. When you plug in these external boxes like this, they come up as a audio codecs. The one that's on the board, the built-in, it says it's a different device, and it says sound card. So here I put the input to the receiver is via the microphone from the external codecs. And then the output is via the speaker of the external codecs. Did I miss one in there? Close the program windows, option window. Options will automatically save. Now you select from that screen that we were on before. Down along here you select whichever mode you want to use. I've got RTTY selected over there and 40 meter band. And I'm ready to go. Now there are macros in here that you can click on that will help you get connected. You can sit there and put it in transmit manually and sit there and type your call sign and CQ and all of that. I use the macros. In fact, I went in and modified them the way I wanted, which is what you can do. But that'll get you started with Ham Radio Deluxe. One of the things about Ham Radio Deluxe and using the digital master, you have to use a Ham Radio Deluxe log. If you don't bring up the log, you won't be able to transmit. It's just that they've interwoven it so that those two programs have to be running. Configuring the WSJTX. Again, it's just, you go in, go through the install, select all the default options, and then you come in to, once you get it in, you go to the main configuration screen or the settings screen, and these are the 4 tabs that you need to configure to get running. A lot of guys are confused about what you do in these tabs. That's why I wanted to cover it this way. First of all, the general tab. This is where you enter your information. Selections down here, blank line between the decode lines. Once it switches from receive to transmit, it'll put a blank line in there. Display distance in miles. Tells you how far the guy is from you based on the grid square. Transmit message to the receive frequency window. I'll show you that in a little bit. These are just some options in there. Double click on the call, puts you in the transmit mode. Other little thing down here in the corner, see I told it, again, you know, my information, call sign, and the grid square. Down here, this watchdog timer. I set it to 7 minutes. What that does is it's a timer. Once you go into transmit mode, if you haven't received an answer to your call in CQ, then it shuts off. So you don't sit there and just keep running away. If you get hung in a loop and you go more than 7 minutes in that loop, it'll shut itself off. Watchdog timer kicks in and stops you. Next tab is the radio. This is where you define your radio to the software, tell it what port you talk to the radio on, the baud rate, data bits, parity bits. That's I always use 8, none, and 1. That's 8 data bits, 1 stop bit, no parity. Over here, again, the push-to-talk method is Vox. This is kind of grayed out. It's not a choice. We transmit in the upper sideband. That way, it always makes sure you're in the upper sideband when you're using this software. Split operation, you'll get to that later. For right now, none. Again, select your sound card. In this case, the audio codecs. And then the last, what was this? Yeah, reporting. Okay, this is the one in here where you want to check this little box. It says do the PSK reporter. That says that anytime you receive a call, whether you're trying to contact the guy or you just see him out there sending, it tells the reporting software that you heard this guy at this time. So it's reporting every call sign that's unique and when he heard it. And I missed one. Oh, the top one up there, you want to check that. That's prompt to log the call. When we go in and demonstrate a little bit, you'll see where it pops up. But that way, when the call completes, you get a 73 and send a 73 to your for the call. Little menu pops up, says log call. Click OK and it logs it. It also gives you a chance to put any notes or comments in there that you want. Whoops. The last one is the colors. Now I put this in here because I'm partially colorblind and some of the colors that come up on the screen are hard for me to see. You go in and select the colors you want, customize it for you. The green at the top, any message that comes in that has a CQ in it, it'll color that one green. If it's something you transmit, it colors it yellow, and if something comes in with your call sign in it, colors it red. So you'll see a lot of different color lines on the screen as you're receiving. You can see here, like this is a CQ. You can pick it out real quick. The violet, some of those are like DX calls that you haven't gotten a call from before. What we came to this screen for is here we want to select the mode, FT8. This screen changes depending on the mode. I just happened to be in FT8 when I was generating these slides. So sorry, but it looks different when it's in JT65 or Whisper or something like that. This is where you select the mode. After you select the mode, you want to go over. Did I go too far? Okay. When this screen comes up, there's a few things on here that you want to check. That is very important. Hold the transmit frequency. Once you pick a spot on the waterfall that you want to transmit in, every time you go to answer a call, you don't want your transmit frequency jumping over to his transmit frequency. What it does is it drags you over to where there may be interference. You're looking at the waterfall, you pick you a clear spot and try to stay in a clear spot so you don't see other people transmitting on top of you. So hold the frequency. The auto sequence, that's another one that you need to check. That simply says that once you start sending CQ and somebody answers you, the computer will take over and complete the sequence. You only have 2 seconds between the time you stop transmitting to the receive starts, or if you're receiving something, you only have 2 seconds to decide if you want to answer a call. So if you've got the auto sequence checked, it will help you there. The next one is the call first. That simply says that when you get more than one person answering your call, you're going to take the first one you decode. So you don't have to make a decision. It just takes the first one you decode and leaves the rest of them go. Any questions up to this point? I know I've been moving right along on this. The next thing we need to do from this screen, let's pick out the band we want to work on. It's a drop-down menu. The frequencies are already programmed in the program, so whenever you pick a band, it puts you on the right frequency. You don't have to tune the radio. It just it puts you on the right frequency. So pick your band. The next thing that you've got to do is you've got to adjust the volume in and the volume out. I do that through Windows. I come down to the taskbar and right-click on the speaker and tell it to open the sound panel. What you'll get up is a menu like this, and see it shows your sound devices in here. Here's the PC audio, here's the codecs. Select the codecs, click on Properties, and you get a menu up, click on the Level tab, and you have a slider that turns the volume up and down. What we want to do when we're receiving signals, we want that green bar to come up to about 60 dB. And you can see I only have it set on a 4. If you put too much in there, this light, this little dot here, will turn red, saying you're overdriving it. So that's how you know when you've got enough volume coming from your PC to your rig.
Does that vary from day to day, season to season, or anything?
No, it usually it stays pretty much the same. It will vary from rig to rig. But, you know, once I've said it, I've not gone back and said it. I watch this, and you'll see this drop away. And then when the receiver signal comes in, you'll see it come back up. When you transmit, that goes away. Click OK after you've got it set. And then you want to go to the microphone, the recording tab. Click on the microphone for the codecs. What you do is you come over to your waterfall and you pick a clear spot. You see, this is what I'm talking about. Here's the waterfall. There's nobody been in there. And also you got to stay below 3,000. You get way up here, won't transmit it, knows you're outside the band. So I picked a clear spot there. And once you've got that, let's see, waterfall, select the clear spot by holding the shift key of mouse. What you may have to do is once you click on this menu, those two that we just had up before will hide themselves. So you may have to minimize this. Not quite yet. You come over here and click Tune. That puts your rig in tune, sends a transmit signal to your rig. Then you minimize that window, and you come back up here and you're adjusting the slider. Now, on my rig, I need 4.5 bars of ALC. So I can sit there and adjust that slider up and down and watch them bars come up or go. That's just according to your rig. So now you've got enough sound going into the rig, enough sound coming back to the PC. Once you get that done, click OK twice, which will take you out of all these menus and put you back over here.
It doesn't matter what band you're in.
No. Yeah. So we're now back to our menu, ready to go. Now, mine's already set up. That's why you see all this information in here. Okay, now we've got this last little button. They break a minute up into 4 sections, 15 seconds a section. If you're transmitting on the even section, you'll either transmit starting at 0, 0 or 30 seconds. You transmit for 13 seconds, then it drops and switches to the receive mode. Odd, you transmit 15 and 45. Watch your waterfall. See where the people are transmitting. If you see a lot of people on the even, you want to transmit on the odd because they're listening on the odd. If you see a lot of people in the odd section, you transmit on the even because they're listening in the even section. And play with that. Go back and forth.
So that is something that you would change from time to time.
Yeah, what I do is my selection of that, if it's an odd day, I don't select it. If it's an even day, I select it. That way I'm playing the band. Again, the band, earlier in the day, 20 meters is going to be good. 40 meters has been coming alive late in the evening or early in the morning. Sometimes the higher band, 17, 12 meters, 15 meters. You decide what you want to, which time frame you want to transmit in, and the messages that are going to get sent are generated automatically by the software. You can modify this one message. If you want, a lot of guys will go in and say they want DX only. They'll put CQ, DX, and then their call sign. Or if they want a particular state, they'll put the 2-letter abbreviation for the state. So we're pretty much set up. We're going to transmit on the even minute. Now all we've got to do is enable the transmit. After we click a clear spot. Now you see I've moved down in here. The other thing that I read, it said stay below 2,000 on your frequency. These little bands, they're 50 hertz wide. So you pick a spot where it's kind of clear in there, and you may have to move around. Now, like in the last class when the guy said, when you click in there and all of a sudden it looks like somebody's right on top of you, because it now is more sensitive to what's happening in that little spectrum of the band. But this is my transmit goalpost, and that's the receive goalpost. Now this will move to whatever signal that has your call sign in it. If you're transmitting and calling CQ here, and some guy is over here, and he answers your call sign, then that little green goalpost will jump over to him and concentrate the decode in that area. And in order to set the transmit, you hold the shift key down and left click, and that moves it. You can go, there's other ways to set your transmit frequency, but the visual and just drag the mouse and set it there. And then select transmit enable, and it starts the sequence of sending. What I usually do is say if I'm transmitting even, I'll wait until that gets in an odd section and then click the enable transmit. That way it doesn't start halfway through the time frame. It does a complete start of the, see, I would start 21, click this, I would start transmitting at 30 seconds after the minute. And then it'd switch to receive, then back to the next 30 seconds transmit. The mode you're in is displayed here. I mean, as far as transmit or receive, see, it's right now it's in receive, even though I've got transmit enabled. And what it's going to do is that's what it's going to send. And then when somebody answers, it fills in all of these with the information that you need. Okay, this is a complete cycle here. I sent CQ 3 times on this. It may have been more. Finally, this guy answers.
And that was 30-second cycles.
Say again?
That was 30-second cycles.
This is a 15-second, 15-second.
Okay.
So that would be 30. Then there's another 30, and he gets down here. And if you get good, clean copy, a minute and a half and you're done. You can shortcut it with some of the messages. It's explained in the literature about. See here where it says we send these are the messages that you get sent. Well, you got an R18 and an 18. You got a RRR and a 73. There's some of them where you can combine those, so you're sending really on a minute, and the call is completed in a minute. All right. He answered. I sent back what I received him at. That's this number. Moved over here, and this right here is 1/10 of a second. We're off between the times in our PCs. Then I sent this twice. He didn't hear me when I sent this. He sent again. I sent another signal. He came back and he got the decode and answered it. He got me with a minus 10 dB. I usually run around 20 watts. If I see this number where he's really getting me low, I'll reach over and crank the power up. You know, I haven't found a little button on here just to click to do that. I have to turn it up. After he sent the signal report, I sent an acknowledgement. He sent a 73. I sent a 73. That little thing I said, check, prompt a log. It popped up the little contact. Now see, I can go in and add, I can put transmit power, operator, if I need to put some kind of comment in there. But if everything's okay, I just click OK and it's logged.
So what was the total time span from the time you first?
Okay, if I send this, that's 15 seconds. 15 seconds. 15 seconds. 15. So, you know, that's running like 2 minutes.
The time's on the left, you can actually see that.
Yeah.
Quite make it out. Okay.
It's clearer on the PC screen than on this. But anyway, at that point, you click OK. The software I use, I get an acknowledgement from the logging program that it got the log. I click OK on that, and I come back over here. Oh, by the way, when you get the 73, it knocks you out of transmit. You know, after you send your 73, it drops out of transmit. That way you just not continually prevents it from being a completely automated system. So you do have to go back up here and check this if you want to send again. Yeah. Click OK. These are suggestions for what works for me. I have developed a routine of the way I start up the programs, and I do the same every time. You know, when you start up one program, it'll be waiting on the other one to come up. And it won't go anywhere until it talks to the other one. So you may run into a conflict that way. What I do is I start up my cat control program. That's the first thing I do. Turn the radio on, start up the program. If I start up the program without turning the radio on, it goes ape. So make sure I got the radio on, turn the cat program on, bring up my logging software. Then I bring up, there's another piece of software in there I use called JT Alert. I'll show you that on the bigger screen. And then I bring up the WSJTX. That's the 4 pieces of software that I run to you know, keep up with what I'm doing and to control the radio and everything. Pick a transmit frequency under 2K. At that 2K mark, you come down and find a clear spot. The higher end of the band puts the harmonics outside of the band pass. If you're down at the low end, the harmonics could be somewhere in the upper part of the band pass. They said that from about 2,000 to 2,500 hertz, some of the other protocols use that frequency range. So, you know, I just look for a clear place down there. Keep the transmitter power under 20 watts. I've done well with 10 watts. I seem to be in a hole. I can only get the United States and Western Europe. Can't get anything in Africa, don't get anything in Asia. So, you know, I turn the power up just a little bit there.
Why is that? I mean, if you don't turn it up, you can't.
No, I don't get it even with that. But I do tend to make more contacts with less missed messages in between. Switch between an odd and even periodically. You know, in other words, if you're always transmitting on even and somebody else is transmitting on even, you're never going to hear each other. Look for a clear spot. Keep your transmit in a clear spot. If you see somebody else using that band, just shuffle over a little bit. And you don't have to be out of transmit. You can pull it over and click it, and it will shift the tones for you. This is basically the two pieces of software that I have up that are on one screen. This is the WSJTX, that's JT Alert. You see all of those call signs and the countries they're in or the states. That's what it got on the last receive cycle. That's what, 24 different calls coming in at one time? The ones that are in green called CQ. I forget what the yellow was, but you see here's Chile, Greece. I can hear all kinds of places, just nobody hears me. You know, I'm down in the holes. But, and again, the different color bands, this has its own set of colors for these. This is a separate program. That's the JT Alert software. This is the WSJTX software. We're in FT8 mode. I'm in a receive cycle operating at 40 meters. And this is what they call the receive frequency window. That's all the band activity. If you transmit, that gets put in this window, so you know that you were transmitting. What gets in here is what's under those little receive goalposts and your transmit signals. So this down here is just where I left the receive goalpost the last time I worked a call. Somebody else is in there now, so it's decoding that. One of the things I forgot to put in here is over here under decode, that says deep decode. It also has that special decode that, forget who was the guy that, pardon? Brian talked about. You check that. And this down here, the mode you're in, that's your last transmit message you're receiving right now. And this is the progress bar. We're 7 seconds into the 15-second cycle. Again, the watchdog timer is right now is set to 0, so I must be fixing to time out. Next time I try to transmit, it would time me out.
Harold, you going to show us how it works right quick?
Yeah.
The HRD interferes with the WS.
Pardon?
I think the HRD software interferes with the WS.
Well,
Hammer does not share ports. That's why you the wind free goes out to ham radio deluxe.
this right in there, I got 4 different programs I could run.
If you want to use ham radio deluxe, when you set up WSJT, instead of putting your actual radio in, you put in ham radio deluxe. So you see the drop down.
With ham radio deluxe, connection through ham radio deluxe, radio.
Okay, this is exactly going on. You see the water, these are all
guys calling. There's what's coming in.
What antenna are you using?
Say again?
What antenna are you using?
The club's 40 meter.
I can contact Harold.
I'm trying. I got to find my mouse. It ran away on me. Okay. See where my little red goalposts are right there? Believe it or not, here's the thing. It's clear down there. Okay, and again, I'm set to transmit even. It's just at the end of the half-minute even cycle. Now we'll enable transmit. That's a receive. That's me transmitting. See, it switched to yellow over in the lower left corner, the progress bar, and CQ. Back to the receive. Let's see if anybody will come back. If I wanted to try to answer one of these CQs or something, if I move my cursor over here and double click on that bar, it would put me into the mode of answering his CQ. In the JTX software, you have to double click to enable transmit, and it puts you in the right time cycle. If you see one pop up and you're not in the right time cycle, what I mean is by this, got an answer.
Got a contact there, I think.
Yeah. See, and now the computer's taken over.
What is the station, Harold?
Huh?
What is the station?
It is K3CWF. The guy's name is Edward. He's in DES Delaware, Newark, Delaware. That top, the JTX alert, I have a feature in there that I can go to QRZ and look up a guy's information. Okay, now see, he sent acknowledgement. I'm acknowledging what he sent me. The next thing that'll come in after I get done sending that RRR will be his 73. See it?
What is RRR?
Just an acknowledgement. I received your transmission. Okay, here comes the signal to 15 seconds or 13 seconds plus 2. See the red line, 73?
That puts it in your logbook?
No.
Will shortly.
It's in. I see I'm in a receive cycle now for his 73.
The 73, it didn't transmit 5. Didn't do the final 73 transmit.
Okay, now see, I'm still sending RRR to him. One of the things I can do when I know I should be sending a 73, and see somebody else is trying to get a hold of me right here.
You're not enabled. Transmit's not enabled.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to mention was M Radio Deluxe is about a $100 program, but the free version is still out there.
Yeah.
5.23.
Okay, now I manually clicked the long QSO.
See, here's the QSO, all the information, and rig control. Why does it keep popping up? I've introduced some new features.
Okay, we did respond to Emily 73. It's now been logged.
Yeah.
Which logging program are you using?
I'll bring that up just a second. Let me see if I can get rid of this. This has just been installed. The one that I do most of the calls, or all the calls on, is the home station. It's got something like about 2,000 entries in there. Most of them are FT8 since November of last year.
What's it called?
Pardon?
What's the log called? The log consultant?
Log for OM.
Harold, would you show, maybe they've never seen PSK Reporter. You just
Oh,
show where your signal's being shown. That you just sent.
Okay, I'm going to say 40 meters sent by call sign.
oh, there it is. FT8 over the last 12 hours, go.
They're all over Europe and the United States.
Yeah. Now, if I go back and change this, about the same. You get down here and there's your gray line, and you can pull this up, catch it, and kind of drag it around where you want to. But that's all you got to do is go to the reporter, put your information in that line up there, and then if let's go back to sent by. And if I go over here to this guy, if I quit moving the mouse around, down in the lower left corner is the information.
What does it say?
Well, that one says received Tuesday, 15 May 2018 at 003945 GMT from N4HER by DLOPF. And then he tells me location, his grid square, frequency, what else has it got in there? Distance. Does it have the distance in there?
The other one had difference. The other one had little movement.
Let's see, this guy, this is in Turkey. But you know, there's all kinds of software out there that is free. If I go back into this and click on one of these calls, see it puts up a window with a lot more detail in it. All of these displays are configurable as far as what you shows up in it. This one, what I like about it is if I go over here to the mailbox, this is where I can upload or download from the logging sites. Now I can't upload the logbook of the world right now because I just set this one up and I haven't put in my credentials. And I can't download from them without credentials. But if I wanted to say like logbook of the world, I think it's search here. Since I've only got 4 or 5 contacts in there, it comes up and shows me the ones that I can upload to it. You click a couple buttons, like you say, upload like this. Oh, you do have to select them. And then it gives you a menu and it says upload, and it probably won't go. But, you know, when it's all set up right, it uploads it. The EQSLs get uploaded automatically every time I make a contact. Logbook of the world, I have to do it manually. One of the little things I like about this is the JTX alert has a little messaging section in it. So you can do a contact, you can go over to the messaging section and send a guy a text message that pops up on the screen if he's got it enabled.
Well, it's going to have how easy this is to actually communicate with.
Yeah, and since all of this are canned messages, I've got some kind of feature that I don't want in there right now. But you know, this was working fine. I came in here and started making a few changes to spiffy it up and shot myself in the foot. But any questions?
Harold, have you downloaded
deactivation mode? This is deactivation. Yes, this is the deactivation mode.
Okay, see the cat turned green, so he finally talked to the radio. Over here, you see the three little tabs right here? This is the normal. If you come down to the bottom one, that's the de-expedition mode. When you come over here under the settings, I turned these off. The menu, when you go over here and you say File, Settings, and you come out here to Advanced, here's where you select the de-expedition mode. You're either a fox or a hound. What this does is, in the case of somebody's doing a de-expedition, it allows him to send up to like 5 or 6 simultaneous calls and process 5 or 6 simultaneous answers. So instead of just logging one call in a minute and a half, you've logged 5 or 6. Their reports, and they've been testing it, that they're getting as high as 300 and 400 contacts an hour. But you can see the advantage of somebody that goes to a remote location is sending. Everybody and their brother is trying to call them, and you get pile-ups. So this allows you to be able to handle that. Doc, did you ever get in on any of the tests? Yeah, if you get in here and you're the fox, and you click Fox, it changes your screen a little bit, and what you're going to be doing is transmitting below 500 or 1,000 hertz, Doc, I forgot. Anyway, you're transmitting down in the low end of the band, and the hounds that are answering you are up in the upper end of the band, so that you're not walking over each other. And it doesn't let you, if you're a hound, it doesn't let you click a transmit frequency below 500 hertz. Say again?
Yeah, it's segregating.
Yeah, so that, and that little thing about doing the faking the duplex or the split, you'll go back and check that. Now, this radio is capable of doing split transmissions on its own. Receive on one frequency and transmit on another.
you're not really transmitting on different frequencies. Not
Well, you transmit on the same frequency, it's just your receive is picking up a different frequency. So when you switch back to receive, you're going to your other.
Yeah, but it's within the bandpass of the radio. It's not split in the same way that you can.
Oh yeah, it's a different VFO. You can have it two different VFOs.
That's if you're running real split out there.
Yeah. But now see, again, like I said, all of the yellow stuff is what I've transmitted. The red ones are the ones that came in, received, and got moved into here. And the problem with not checking this is, you see when this guy answered up right here, he moved down here to my transmit frequency. Now, if he doesn't shift his transmit frequency, he starts calling CQ, he's right on top of where I'm transmitting. And you'll watch this and you'll start seeing his signal coming down the waterfall. At that point, I'll go pick another spot.
One thing, I know I had problems the very first time I tried to do this. My filter on the radio was set too narrow.
Yeah.
It's got to be 2500.
Well, see, I've got
KC.
mine set at 6K.
Yeah, right. So I had mine set at like.
Yeah, I've got the normal sideband filter in there, which is what, about 2700.
Right.
And I've also got an AM filter in there, which is 6K, and that's the one I select. So I get that full. Now, there are things that you can do as far as configuring your the waterfall.
I didn't know why I was going to see it.
If it's not working, that's one of the first things you look at. Yeah, you filter.
Okay, see how wide my band pass is now? It jumped out to 4,000 hertz. I simply click this number to 3. If it goes back to 2, see, it came back to 2,500.
You were right about saying to stay below 2000 because you're at 7074. 7076 is another mode. I don't remember which mode it is.
Yeah.
But so the guys, if you see those guys above 2000 there,
Yeah.
they're actually, if they're really in FT8, they're impinging upon somebody else's frequency.
If I was going to do something right now,
65.
see, I pulled up about 1605, and here's the actual transmit frequency. That's the bottom of the transmit frequency, and it covers a 50 hertz spectrum. Now, if I switch modes over here, if I go over to mode and say, I can't see that, JT65.
Change the frequency to 7078.
Yeah. See? So, and then when you come up here and select the band, it will present all of the frequencies in that mode. Digital Master, Ham Radio Deluxe, when you select a band up there, when you select a band, it will ask you, presents a couple frequencies maybe that where that particular protocol works. The PSK is usually a fixed range. Once you select that, you're on a waterfall and the calls are up and down the waterfall. They don't take up much bandwidth. If you get on RIDI, you may be moving up and down the band because that covers like about 7070 is PSK. RIDI usually is about 80, 70, 80, and up to 125 in there. So you're going up and down hunting for a call there. They use is it 170 hertz shift for RIDI now. RIDI used to be 850 hertz shift. but they've now gotten it down so that they can get good decode with 170 hertz, and it runs I think 45 baud, which is really 60 words a minute.
I think we're gonna need to wrap it up here pretty soon.
One more mode and I'm done. This one right here. This is the whisper mode. This is the one that allows you to sit there and track all of these weak signal stations, and out of a 10-minute cycle, you may transmit one time, and then you're listening to other people that are transmitting. And this is, again, is sending it to that reporter. So you can track where you're going. I have taken a test antenna, that 20-meter spiral dipole that Steve brought in. I made one like that. I put 2 watts of power into it and got a report from Australia, just sitting out on the driveway on the end of a tripod. That's it, guys. I'll leave this set up, so if anybody wants to come play with it,
Yep.
We'll be here for a little while.
Ask questions. Yeah, we're going to be here for a while, and that's the normal thing. You guys, we don't normally run this late, but we're usually here this late because we're all going to talk about whatever we talk about. So that's pretty much where we are. Anybody have anything else? Dale never did. Oh, yeah,